You're watching TAG TV. TAG TV tags you news, views, and entertainment.
Hello and welcome to Newsweek South Asia, a program that talks about breeding of terrorism and its impact on South Asian nations. Let's begin with the headlines first. Pakistan's crackdown against terrorism, another cosmetic step to hoodwink international community. Yet another Taliban attack shook Kabul, no peace deal in the offing. Pakistan features at third position in UNSC's proscribed list. And worried about terrorist attacks if US troops leave Afghanistan, says US President Donald Trump. After repeatedly being labelled as terror sponsors, Pakistan authorities announced to launch a crackdown against Hafiz Saeed, the UN proscribed terrorist, who was the mastermind behind deadly attacks on Mumbai in 2008. Pakistan's counter-terrorism department said it had launched 23 cases against Saeed and 12 aids for funding Lashkar-e-Toiba terror outfit. The move soon garnered condemnation from India and international bodies, calling it another cosmetic step taken by Pakistan under its double standard play to hoodwink international community, a report.
Amid international condemnation and growing pressure, Pakistan authorities had announced a crackdown against UN-designated terrorists, including Hafiz Saeed, the co-founder of Lashkar-e-Toiba and the mastermind behind the 2008 Mumbai terror attack. The move came year after Financial Action Task Force placed Pakistan on its grey list of countries with inadequate controls over money laundering and terrorism financing.
If we try to kind of see what Pakistan has been trying to convince to the international community on steps they claim that they have taken, against terrorist and terror groups operating from the soil. Now it's very interesting that you claim that you have taken action, but when it comes to taking action against the people who we have demanded, either you ignore, you go into a denial mode, you in fact even deny that they exist and they're present in your country. But on the other hand, you try to project to the international community, you try to hoodwink the international community that you are taking some action against the terrorist and terror groups operating from their soil. So I think this basically is a case of double standard. This is something where they stand completely exposed, as far as their claim of taking action against terrorist groups in Pakistan is concerned.
Pakistan has long denied its role in nurturing and supporting terrorists to wage attacks on neighboring India and other South Asian countries. It furthers its stance by playing double standard through cosmetic steps, as mentioned in the weekly briefing of Ministry of External Affairs of India.
Let us not get fooled by these cosmetic steps. You see, I think we have seen the course of such convictions in the past. We have seen where it goes, where it is headed. Pakistan's sincerity to take action against terrorist and terror groups will be judged on the basis of their ability to demonstrate verifiable, credible, and irreversible action against terror and terrorist groups operating from their soil, and not on the basis of half-hearted measures, sometimes which they undertake to hoodwink the international community.
In the latest round of United Nations Human Rights Council meet in Geneva too, Pakistan was slammed for its continuous support and patronage given to terrorists. During the 41st session of UNHRC, a research analyst from European Foundation for South Asian Studies drawn an intervention against the UNHRC's first ever report on human rights situation in Jammu and Kashmir. She remarked that all terrorist organizations operating in Jammu and Kashmir have headquarters based in Pakistan and continue to receive patronage from Pakistan's army in order to wage attacks in the valley.
Terrorism is the most deplorable violation of human rights. Yet remarkably, an office as exalted as that of the High Commissioner for Human Rights did neither deem terrorism nor its consequences important or relevant enough to include in its first ever report on Jammu and Kashmir. The fact that all terrorist organizations operating in Jammu and Kashmir are headquartered in Pakistan and continue to receive patronage from Pakistan's army in order to wage its proxy war in Jammu and Kashmir.
Pakistan has long faced international pressure to shut off financing to militant groups operating from its soil and has repeatedly pledged action, but results have been patchy and have failed to satisfy any of the UN member countries.
In Afghanistan, another bomb blast shook the capital city, Kabul, killing more than 16 and injuring over 100 residents. Breaking the relative calm in the capital city, Taliban terrorists waged the attack when 7th round of peace talks with Taliban were underway in Qatar. The attack by Taliban militants has again pushed Afghan government and the US to rework their peace agenda before September Afghan elections. Here's a report. In yet another dastardly attack signaling their non-compliance to any peace settlement with the Afghan government, Pakistan-supported Taliban terrorists detonated a powerful truck bomb in the capital city Kabul, killing more than 16 people and injuring over 105. The bomb-laden truck exploded outside the Defense Ministry building, ensuing mayhem in the capital during the morning rush hour. After the blast, 5 of Taliban terrorists took positions in an under-construction building and started firing indiscriminately at the rescuers and Afghan soldiers. The gun battle between Taliban terrorists and the Afghan security forces lasted for 7 hours until all the terrorists were neutralized.
ما فقط از ساحت کوشش کردیم که پرسنل خود بکشیم و یک از زخمیایی که ما از سر ریختن شیشه ها و اینا بودن یا زخمی شده بودن اونا رو ما انتقال دادیم به شفاخانه.
دیگه وضعیت خراب بود، بسیار زیاد وضعیت خراب بود، هر کس در حالت خود بود. دیگه از روی شیشه موتر دیگه خود انداختیم پایین بود و یک کم ذره سر صورت ما خون و چیزا بود، یک بغل دست ما یک ذره اوگار شده بود.
The attack, which ended a period of relative calm in the capital, came as US Special Peace Envoy Zalmay Khalilzad held the 7th round of peace talks with the Taliban in Qatar aimed at bringing the 18-year-old war to an end. Washington, which was eyeing a breakthrough before Afghanistan's September presidential election, was taken aback by the recent incident of violence in the capital city. The 4-point negotiations on counter-terrorism, foreign troop presence, and intra-Afghan dialogue and a permanent ceasefire outlined by US have again come to a head start as Taliban gives no room to act on any of the 4 terms. The blast by the Taliban insurgents that shook Afghan capital was a reminder for the Afghan government and the US negotiators that more to be brought on the table in order to strike a deal with warring Taliban. Pakistan's status of being a hub of terrorists is not an exaggeration, but it is a fact which is validated by the United Nations Sanctions Committee 1267. ISIL and Al-Qaeda Sanctions Committee list that features the names of proscribed terrorists and terror groups of the world states that Pakistan has most citizens and entities in the proscription list that makes it a country with 3rd highest number of terrorists in UN proscribed list. Here's a report.
With the United Nations Security Council designating Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar as a global terrorist, the number of Pakistani citizens in the UNSC's proscribed list has gone up to 146. According to United Nations Security Council's updated index of proscribed terrorists, Pakistan has most citizens and entities after Iraq and Afghanistan in the ISIL and Al-Qaeda Sanctions Committee list. This revelation makes Pakistan one of the most unsafe countries of the world, as many of its citizens and entities are involved in terror activities. Pakistan, which saw its birth after partition from India in 1947, is nowhere close to India when it comes to development index. Rather, the country has only become infamous for breeding terrorism in the subcontinent. Years after independence, Pakistan is only seeing rise in terrorism, whereas India has secured its place among one of the fastest growing economies of the world.
Pakistan, was created in the name of Islam, in the name of religion, and basically it's ideology based on hatred against India, against a particular community in India, the majority community, Hindus. The Muslim cannot live with other community, a separate nation. So they did not form a modern nation state, and they were acting in the interest of a small group, which has basically captured power based in Punjab province of Pakistan, who were part of the army as well as political establishment. So the pattern of development was very different between the two countries.
Several Pakistani nationals have got their names featured in the 1267 UN Sanctions Committee list. Top names from them include 2611 mastermind Hafiz Saeed, Zakir Rahman Lakhvi of Lashkar-e-Toiba and the Haqqanis. Masood Azhar is the latest name added in the list. Dawood Ibrahim, an accused in the 1993 Mumbai blast, is also named in the list with details of his Pakistani passport. The list also mentions locations of terror entities based in Pakistan, operated from there or had links to Pakistani individuals. Moreover, it contains names of over 850 individuals or entities designated as global terrorists and come under travel ban, assets freeze and arms embargo as per the UN resolution.
There are a number of groups in Taliban which are sometimes fighting among themselves also. So similarly, we see these groups comes and sometimes they disappear and start operating with different names. But Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, and there are many others, which are permanent feature, continue to operate from Pakistan. And then they themselves have different sub-organizations they have developed, built up, In their name they would conduct operations.
Pakistan has tried to distance itself from the terrorist groups and individuals and has claimed itself to be the victim of terrorism. However, the UN list specifically highlights the names of terrorists who live in Pakistan, used Pakistani soil for their operations, or collaborated with terrorist groups operating in Pakistan. Hence, Pakistan is indeed a victim of self-proliferated terrorism.
Pakistan is trying to become a victim, trying to show that as if it is a victim of militancy or terrorism. But the truth, this is not a truth. Most of the countries in the world have recognized that Pakistan is the epicenter of terrorism, and militancy has spread from Pakistan to all over the world. Most of the militant leaders, whether they belong to Boko Haram or Al-Qaeda or Taliban, they were trained and funded by Pakistan.
After getting exposed repeatedly for its role in terrorism, Pakistan today stands at the cusp of being declared a terror state. FATF, an international watchdog, has already put it in the grey list. Owing to terror mongering, the United States has denied it the assistance it would provide until last year. With growing interior instability and increasing isolation from outside, the day is not far when Pakistan will be a global liability if the terror factories are not shut down immediately.
US President Donald Trump has described Afghanistan as a lab for terrorists. Trump, while maintaining that he wants the US to just get out of the 18-year mire of a campaign in Afghanistan, has said he won't do that after all, leaving behind a very strong intelligence presence. A report. In his latest statement on Afghan crisis, US President Donald Trump said he wants to pull US troops out of Afghanistan, but is concerned that without an American military presence, the country could be used as a base for terrorist attacks on the United States. Donald Trump's interview on Fox News, which was aired this week, revealed the president's concern towards Afghanistan, as he called it a lab of terrorists, and said that pulling the 9,000 US troops from Afghanistan could bring mass massacre in the beautiful nation.
I would like to just get out. The problem is it just seems to be a lab for terrorists. It seems, I call it the Harvard of terrorists. When you look at the World Trade Center, they were trained. They didn't, by the way, they attacked their own country. They didn't come from Iraq, all right? They came from various other countries, but they all formed in Afghanistan. And it's probably because it's at the base of so many countries, but they all formed, and it's rough mountains, and you get a lot of, you get a lot of good hiding places.
When Donald Trump says it's a laboratory of terrorism, basically what he's saying is that this people, the people that are there in Afghanistan, that who are the Talibanists and others, they are the people who will never sit idle. They are the people who will keep carrying on these attacks. They are the people who will keep thinking of other ways and means to increase their attacks. Therefore, it is better that some presence of the Americans remains there so that they keep these people in check.
Afghanistan often calls out Pakistan for using its land as terrorist launchpad. Donald Trump's statement can be understood as a subtle signal towards Pakistan's notorious presence in Afghanistan, who train Taliban terrorists in their land and create safe hiding places for them from where they launch deadly terror attacks in the world.
What President Trump is saying is absolutely correct. The overall scenario today is that Afghanistan is being held together against the terrorists, against the Taliban, only by the American presence. Even a few days earlier, you know that there was a bomb blast, suicide bomb blast, in which 23 people were killed. Now, these sort of attacks have been going on. It is only because of the American troops' presence that the Taliban and all, they have not overrun Kabul. Otherwise, they would have overrun Kabul and installed their own government over there. Donald Trump, when he says this, what he means is that if the entire presence of the troops of America is moved out from there, there will be a vacuum left over there, and the local army of Afghanistan, the local militia of Afghanistan is not capable enough to hold or to even send back the Talibanists. So, therefore, the danger is always there that these people will then rule the roost, and what will they do next? Next is that they are going to be exporting this terrorism to America.
Speaking during the same interview, Trump vowed to leave strong intelligence in Afghanistan as he oversees US troop withdrawal from the country after 18 years of military presence there. The US intelligence group would most certainly keep an eye on Pakistan-backed terror activities in Afghanistan, which would seek to revive itself in the war-torn nation once peace established over there.
I would leave very strong intelligence there. You have to watch. I would leave and will leave, we will be leaving very strong intelligence, far more than you would normally think, because it's very important. And we can do it that way too. But we have reduced the forces very substantially in Afghanistan.
America is keeping a very close watch on Pakistan, not only in Pakistan itself, but in Afghanistan too. Because America knows that Pakistan is playing a double game right throughout. They have never ever tried to crush or remove these terrorists. Then Osama bin Laden, they have been always saying that he was never with them, but he was found right next to a military camp in Abbottabad. So Pakistanis are never to be trusted, and this Donald Trump has on record said that Pakistanis have been making a fool of America. They have taken billions of dollars worth of aid, but have never given anything in return. Therefore, this sort of keeping a watch on the nefarious activities by the intelligence presence is already going on. There is nothing going to be new in it. But what Donald Trump meant was that if, mark my word, it is if they remove the troops from ground, the intelligence presence will still remain there to give a feedback to the Afghani government and of course to the American people, American government, so that they are able to keep a close watch on what Pakistan is doing in Afghanistan also and in Pakistan itself.
The United States went to war in Afghanistan in response to the September 11, 2001 attacks on New York and the Pentagon, seeking to oust the Taliban terrorists who were harboring Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden, who led plans to carry out the 9/11 attacks. About 2,400 US forces have been killed in the 18-year-old conflict. Jamaat al-Mujahideen Bangladesh, a banned terror outfit in India, is seeking to revive itself again in the subcontinent. Their intent is being supported by Pakistan-based terror outfits like Al-Qaeda, who are funding the terror outfit to execute their fatal plans of terror in India and other South Asian nations, a report.
Just a week following the arrest of 4 Jamaat al-Mujahideen terrorists, the Indian government revealed in its parliament that there were intelligence inputs of Jamaat al-Mujahideen Bangladesh using madrasas in West Bengal state of India as breeding ground for terror activity. The government said that the terror group is using madrasas for radicalization of youth and recruitment activities under the influence of foreign-based terrorists. The NIA India in its investigation revealed that JMB members wanted to establish Sharia rule by overthrowing the democratically elected government in Bangladesh. Bangladesh has been a victim of terrorism since the emergence of Jamaat-e-Islami, whose mission was to promote social and political Islam across Bangladesh.
The Jamaat-e-Islami ideology has formed the seedbed, the foundation for the emergence of extremist and terrorist groups in Bangladesh. If not for Jamaat-e-Islami, so many people would not have been radicalized. And we have seen the emergence of JMB, Jamiatul Mujahideen Bangladesh, Hujibi, Harakatul Jihadi Islami Bangladesh, a number of other groups.
The reports from Indian intelligence agencies have revealed that JMB has set up terror factories in the border areas of Bangladesh. It also exposes Pakistan's role into propagating this Bangladeshi terror group, as JMB has support from Pakistan-based terror groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba. The Jamaat al-Mujahideen Bangladesh has been declared as a banned terrorist organization by the Indian government for committing and promoting acts of terrorism and for engaging in radicalization and recruitment of youths for terrorist activities in India.
And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Newsweek South Asia. We will be back next week with more news, views and analysis from the subcontinent. Meanwhile, do keep writing to us at nwsa@aniin.com. This is Surbhi Sharma signing off on the behalf of the entire production team of Newsweek South Asia. Goodbye and take care.